Can you hear me now? Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated from not having my X account for like 4 days. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, good. All right. So yeah, I'm so far behind on news. I have no idea what's going on in the world. I lost my primary micro to macro X account like last Wednesday or Thursday was my last time. Okay. So I haven't been on X at all. I'm trying to get it fixed. X has not even responded to me. I'm trying to think of original methods in order to be able to get it to where I can restore my account. If I try and reset a password, I literally get like an error message and it does nothing. Everything I try and do to get access to it, it doesn't work. So I don't think I was hacked. I think it was just a part of a weird bug that they were having last week where there were authentication issues and people just kind of getting kicked out of X. And that led into a broader problem where I am just kicked out, period. So I'm trying to fix it. I might have to create an alternate account for a period of time just to get it to where I can at least post stuff and go from there and then try and get access in the meantime. And maybe if I verify a different account and get one set up, which I was thinking about doing anyway. I was thinking about using AI in the future and trying to integrate it with like some automated posting on an account that doesn't have a bunch of financial stuff tied to it, and get it to where, you know, I could have like a news feed type thing. So I might just go ahead and give that a try. MetaPlanet looks all right. So MetaPlanet last night, guys, in case you don't know this, it actually, so I can't pull up any news on X today. I'm going to try and have that up and running by tomorrow, but I can't pull up shit. But I can pull up charts. I can pull up some FS Insight stuff and show you what's going on there. I could pull up cross-border capitals, capital wars, Substack, and we could talk about some of that. You could see Bitcoin in the bottom corner, that's actually looking really strong, sitting at 109,630, and it looks like it wants to break through the next fib level. So it looks beautiful. It's a perfect setup. I'm kind of back. I'm kind of broken too, but I'm working on it. But there's a lot. Yeah, Blockchain Group has an MNAV, which is ridiculously high. Yes, they do. There's a lot of that going on. And again, we had the issues last week with MetaPlanet in Japan where we crashed, right? Let me just go to the daily here to make this a little bit easier to understand. So we had last week where we crashed, right? The big crash from what? 1,091 all the way down to about 783. But since we've limited it up again. So we limited up last night, and I think it froze again. I don't know. I don't have X. It makes me sad. But yeah. So we have a lot of the treasury companies still doing really, really well. Blockchain Group, I don't know, man. I struggle. So I do have a watch list. Let me pull this up real quick. So I have a watch list that I created for blockchain treasure or Bitcoin treasuries. Let me move this over a little bit. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Come on, what the fuck? Work with me, computer. Anything, work with me. There we go. All right, so we have this blockchain treasury list. Is anything going to work right today? Anything? Bueller? Oh, I can't even pull down a window. Are you fucking serious? Oh, little annoyed right now, guys. Losing my X is really bumming me out. All right, if they're able to get that 110 billion to buy BCC. Who are we talking about? The drop in DN3 was even crazier, I think. Jesse, what's your take on the blockchain group? Yeah, again, they went up a lot. They went up a lot. They have a huge MNAV. Some people, though, all they have for an opportunity to invest in is the blockchain group, right? So, let me see. I might actually, okay, yeah, there we go. All right, so we'll just sort this by percentage change. And I might have to, maybe it's really hard to see this. I'll zoom in just a hair. It'll increase the size of my other window, but that's okay. So if you look over here, day change, you can see that the blockchain group is the number one performing, at least publicly traded Bitcoin treasury company right now. And again, MetaPlanet's going to refresh. DN3 is the German version of that. And then 3350 is the Japanese version of MetaPlanet. And you can see Japan did really good. Germany's up about 10.5% this morning. And so I expect at least a 10.5 on MetaPlanet, maybe more on MetaPlanet the U.S. ticker, the OTC trade this morning. But I think a lot of people are in the blockchain group. And if we look over here real quick, let me just go over and select it. So if we go to the blockchain group on Strategy Tracker and take a look, 1 second here, I'll just let it refresh. If this is working, you can see the diluted NAV premium's 8.7, and then the basic is 4.15. So this thing is definitely running rich. It's doing well. I don't have a lot more to say on it outside of that. But again, the premium's high, so it can get crushed pretty easily. And a lot of these treasury companies took a little bit of a hit after MetaPlanet did last week as well. But if this is a vehicle you want to ride, you certainly can. You just have to remember, again, these high NAV premiums, just like what's happening with MetaPlanet, can get crushed in an instant. This week is a big week. We do have Vegas, a Bitcoin conference in Vegas with a bunch of really prominent names this week too. I got a friend there. I got to reach out to him and ask him how it's going. He asked me to go to it too. I don't even know why I said no to it, because really I can't get anything to work anyways for my social media stuff. So maybe I should have went. Rayber Trade says similar is greater than MSTR. That could be true. It could outperform MSTR over the short term. Again, it's so much smaller. It is up 2.71% this morning. Let's see what MSTR is up. MSTR is up 2.54. So technically it's beating it a little bit this morning. And it is only $494 million cap. And so if they get aggressive, Vincent's at the conference. Awesome, dude. I wish I would have went. But yeah, if they get aggressive with their buying, Similar could do really well because they're so small. And so just economies of scale and being so small could make it to where the return on investment could be a lot greater. But you got to remember this too, guys. MicroStrategy, they've got a lot in unrealized gains that are going to be coming in here. And they took a big hit last week. I mean, for MicroStrategy, they went from 431 all the way down to 368. So they're bouncing back a little bit this morning. But yeah, we'll see what happens with them too. Again, it's one of those things where I think it kind of makes sense. It's like altcoin season right now, but the altcoins are the Bitcoin treasury companies, if that makes sense. Could hold play catch up? I don't know. There's a lot of things that can play catch up. There really are. And let's take a look here. So again, I don't have any of my new stuff. Totally fucking sucks. But if we look at the fear and greed index, we can see we're still at 64, at least in regard to the stock market fear and greed. Let's run over here real quick. We'll refresh to on the crypto. It says 74, so we're a little more greedy on this one. And if I look over here, I'm just going to pull over the shitcoins. Shitcoins are actually doing all right. So if you look for the week, they've had a pretty good hype up here. For the month, again, very strong as well. Just I'd say Bitcoin treasury, shitcoins, they're all doing really good right now, and I think that's a positive for where we're headed in markets. Let me look at chat again. I do want to play too. I'm going to do this. I'm going to play a video from Mark Newton. Again, this is some of the stuff you're missing with FS Insight and not having it, and I love having it. Earnings still look good. I think it's 79% of them are beating estimates with an overall beat average, I think, or a median of 6%. So all that looks good. I'm going to play this real quick because I want you guys to get some information and value out of today's stream. What has Ted said? Ted said, damn, that's crazy, Victor. That's a very high multiple of their MCAP, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's very high. Morning from Spain. Good morning, Alex. Espanol, very nice, Alex. Uncle Jesse says. Let me see here. Ask for MTPLF on Fidelity this morning is at 990. 990. Okay. All right. I don't have mine pulled up, but that's not a bad number. Let's see if that's true. That's a hell of a jump, guys, because MetaPlanet, at least in pre-market, is at $7. So if it's at 990, it's up here, and that's quite a jump. I mean, that's a pretty big jump. That is about a 30% jump. So if that's the case, I had 1.2 million in it from all my buying last week before I lost my shit, before I lost my account, and so I should a 30% return today would be a nice number. That should be $360,000 just in MetaPlanet. I would take that. I would take that. Finally, a market open again. Yeah, but I'm pretty broken right now. I don't have a working X account. So I got like none of the news. So it's pretty fucked up this morning. So I apologize, guys. I'll try and at least get an account up and running tomorrow. My account, I got locked out. There were weird issues with X last week. I know a number of people were reporting them. And then when I was looking it up online, there was a lot of reports with it too. I got locked out of mine during all these strange things. I think the problem is I tried to reset my password thinking I could fix what was ever happening because I got locked out of the desktop and I was still in the mobile app for a while, another day. And then I got locked out of that too. And now I have no recourse. So I might use an old phone to see if that somehow has a token that can get me in. I'm trying everything I can. Let's see. Oregon data center fire. What is that about? Sailor is right. If you want to see the wallet, just hold Bitcoin Direct. Hey, what did we have any? Again, I'm having to ask you guys today. Did we have any Sailor announcements about purchasing Bitcoin over the weekend, or anything with MetaPlanet, or any of these other Bitcoin treasuries that you guys know of? I have an old suspended account that I let die off a while ago. It got suspended but it's suspended, so it sucks. I can't really do anything. I can't communicate with anybody. But it got suspended back in the old Twitter days. It was the first account I had set up, and then I got locked out of it because they didn't like my political views. So that's like the only thing I have to work off of right now. Sucks. Strategy has acquired 4,000 Bitcoin. What? Are you serious? Let me see. From this last weekend? Let me see if I can find something from Sailor. MetaPlanet and Sailor shook hands at the big... Oh, yeah, they love each other, dude. Especially Dylan. Dylan's buddies with Michael Saylor. You're right, 4,000 Bitcoin. Here's my suspended account, guys. My broken-ass account that can't do anything but look shit up. So, there we go. I got something for now. Yay. But yeah, 4,000 Bitcoin. That is no small amount of Bitcoin. Guys, to put this in perspective, we're only generating 450 a day. This is 9 days of Bitcoin accumulation in a week, and this is for the entire world. So the new issuance of Bitcoin, these guys bought 9 days worth for the entire world in 7 days. And then I'm sure that other companies like MetaPlanet and others, if they're able to, I don't know if MetaPlanet's in a position to do that right now. They do warrants, so their stuff is different. But yeah, this is looking real good, guys. The amount of pressure, the synthetic halving, I agree, 100%, dude. Ted, you're right. The amount of pressure they're putting on this stuff is huge, huge. Let me see here. Is there anything I can do? My account is suspended. Thank you for telling me that. Oh, thank you. Cool. Fuck off. All right. That didn't work. So let's go over here. So let's listen to this real quick. I'm so pissed I missed the MicroStrategy bus. Yeah, I missed a decent amount of it, but I've at least doubled my money with MicroStrategy. But I think the MetaPlanet bus is the new MicroStrategy, and I think some of the other Bitcoin treasuries are too. I think they're going to have a run to try and catch up to MicroStrategy, because 4,000 Bitcoin for MicroStrategy is fucking nothing. How much Bitcoin do we have now over there? Let's just look here. Let's see. Let's go. Is this MicroStrategy? Yeah, okay. Let's refresh real quick here. How much do we have in the way of Bitcoin? Where is it? 580,250. So as crazy as it sounds, buying 4,000 Bitcoin is nothing for MicroStrategy. But if we hop over here, let's see here. Nope, that's a different one. Let's see, do we have Meta in here? We got similar. Do we have Meta or MetaPlanet? I think I got MetaPlanet somewhere. It's in here somewhere. You know what? I can do it. If nothing else, I can go here and go to MetaPlanet. But with MetaPlanet, again, we have a fraction of that. We don't have 580,000 Bitcoin. We got a much, much lower number. 7,800, unless they just bought more. So MicroStrategy just bought 60% almost, or 55% of what MetaPlanet has for the entirety of their holdings. And it just doesn't move the dial. Oh, hey, we do have Kevin Hassett on CNBC here talking about tariffs. Let's check that out real quick and see what's going on. Sorry, I feel so disjointed. I feel like naked here without having a good working X account. It's amazing how much that matters. I'll start this up in a second. MB said Tesla dropped 50% in Europe in April, down to 5,000 Model Y. Wish which is shocking given the market are 25%. But Elon said they are doing fine. Oh yeah. I'm not worried about Europe. I'm not worried about Europe at all, honestly. And Tesla's up 2.3% in pre-market. It's got a nice looking chart. We can check that out in a second. Europe is just a much more liberal society, and so they listen to mainstream media evidently a lot. So and they have a lot of censorship. Just look at the UK and other parts of Europe. MBE, other news: quantum stocks rising. Yep, yeah, that doesn't surprise me that that's coming back. RS, hi Jesse, morning. Thoughts on Saylor? He's not going to be showing proof of reserve, and that it's stupid for anyone to do so. Thanks. I don't know. I've heard arguments going both ways. Both ways in regard to showing them and in regard to not showing them. It sounds like because again, you're creating a vector of attack. If people know where your Bitcoin holdings are, but at the same time, though, you want to have trust. If you want to have trust, it's smart to do that. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. I think MetaPlanet is talking about doing it, but I've got to think about it, stew on it, listen to the arguments a little bit more to really have a decision on it. MetaPlanet had the limit up, halt 2 days in a row. I know, isn't that great? It's just right back. That halt again, it's just squeezing them again. If those guys didn't get the fuck out. Does anybody know what short interest is right now on MetaPlanet? Let me know. Let's listen to this real quick. I want to hear what's going on with tariffs related news. Again, if you weren't, last time I talked, we didn't have 50% tariff talk on Europe, so that's new. I don't know much more than that. Again, I've been pretty disconnected from the world. It was kind of nice, very quiet, very relaxing. But let's listen to Kevin Hassett, see if he has any more updates in regard to that. All right, 1 second here. Let me turn that on.
President Trump delaying the 50% tariff on the European Union until July 9th. With insight to the president's plan and much more, National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. Good to have you on, hey, Kevin. Here's always,
here's what the heat map looks like.
We intro that. It's like, morning. Oh, yeah, the 50% tariff on the EU. Today's Tuesday. We didn't even hear about that until the show on Friday. Right. So things move fast. I guess there's time dilation is a fact in general relativity. But these are moving very quick. Can you tell me?
Sure, we can look at some charts.
What was happening before Friday between the EU and the U.S. that obviously got the president's dander up to just come out on a...
Yeah, Ted said, I think MetaPlanet already has proof of reserve. Dylan posted the address. Yeah, I think you're right. So we're looking at two different techniques for creating trust and also ensuring security. We'll see. I think Dylan's brilliant. We'll see which one works out.
Social posts in kind of shock and awe, the markets on fire. What was happening? How intractable were those negotiations?
Yeah, they're kind of intractable. You know, I've been involved in those negotiations when they're in D.C. with Secretary Lutnick and Jamison Greer. And I got to say that there's not a lot of movement. There was not a lot of movement coming into the week. And as your pet economist, Joe, one of the theories I had of what was going on is that, like, the UK deal was actually pretty easy to negotiate because the UK had some specific stuff they really cared a lot about, like autos. We had some stuff we really cared a lot about, like they hadn't allowed our farmers to ship stuff to their country. And so the deal was kind of easy to make. Well, you get your thing, we get our thing, and so on. But in Europe, they got all these countries, and each country has a different objective, and they have to aggregate these objectives at the EU. And so while we've been not making the progress we wanted to see, you can sort of understand that they've got a problem where they can't make up their own minds. And so I think having a little bit of a deep breath and waiting for them to figure out what they want, then that should help the negotiations. But the bottom line is, across all the countries, I expect we'll probably see a few more deals even this week. There's some stuff very close to finished, and it's up to the president, of course. But in the end, the other thing I would say is that you should expect the best out of these deals. President Trump wants to put America first. He understands that our trading partners want to put themselves first, and he wants them to be second in our affections and America first. And the things are moving forward very quickly. And I think EU is actually about the toughest nut to crack amongst our allies because of the sort of aggregation of preferences problem.
Is it all about tariffs? Is it about non-trade protectionist policies? And I guess, but you got how many countries did you say? So It could be a little of each from, it sounds like, obviously, it's not monolithic, and I don't see how you figure it out by July 9th, Kevin.
Well, the non-tariff barrier issue, for example, there are simple things that we've been trying to do and have been succeeding to do with other countries where we just sort of say, hey, if a car is okay for us to run on our roads and your cars are okay for you to run on your roads, then why don't we acknowledge that your regulations are okay for cars and our regulations are okay for cars? You can acknowledge that, and then we could just move our cars around without lots of costly retooling. And that's the kind of thing that we're shooting for. And then there's a lot of countries that are like, okay, sure. But then with Europe, it's not quite so easy.
So you figure the phone call over the weekend, she just said, cool your jets, Mr. President. Let calmer heads prevail. We're going to try and come together. No specifics on concessions yet. It's just like, let's put this on pause and see what we can work out. Is that what happened?
Well, one of the things I've seen happen, too, is that the president is forming really strong, tight relationships with the leadership in these trade negotiations. And so I think it was almost like friend to friend. OK, fine. Okay. You want some time off. You can have some time off. I think it was probably not more reasoned than that. That's, I trust you. Okay. You're a good partner. I really enjoy our relationship together. Let's try to fix this.
We were already talking about off-ramps on Friday. Right after they announced, we're talking about off-ramps. And we're trying to figure out an off-ramp for Apple. It'd be a $3,000 iPhone if they tried to make everything here.
$3,500.
$3,500 for a good one, for the kind you'd like, probably.
We'll talk more about MetaPlanet, Bitcoin treasuries, all that stuff right after this. About Victor being balls deep in a bunch of Bitcoin stuff, all of it.
That's it. But what's the offer?
I'm a smoke signal kind of guy.
What's the supply? What's the supply chain issue? I mean, what is Tim Cook supposed to do?
Right. Well, we'll see how it works out. But the bottom line is that what we're trying to do is onshore as much as we can in the U.S. and make it so that the U.S. is not hyper-dependent on imports from China. Right. And so I think that one of the things we're seeing is that people are moving way faster than you might expect. If you look at the 20% equipment investment in the first quarter before the tariffs even came in, with supply chains moving fast and just-in-time inventory management and AI, I think you're going to be astonished at how quickly stuff moves onshore.
But Kevin,
and that's what we're shooting for. And in the interim, then we'll see how it works out. But they need to move their stuff onshore as much as possible to make it so that the U.S. economy is secure and not prone to Chinese extortion.
But Kevin, I did some reporting actually on the Apple issue over the weekend. Actually wrote something in DealBook this morning about it, which is, what do you think about the prospect if Tim Cook were to come to you and say, look, we obviously can't move everything in 12 months. It's just not going to happen. Maybe we can start to move things over several years. In the meantime, we could try to assemble more of the phone in the United States. So you could actually write on the phone, assembled in the United States, or potentially, depending on what you think the merits of it are, made in the United States, maybe at their Texas facility or something else, but with a longer-term plan of maybe 5 or 10 years, frankly, of being able to actually manufacture the phones here. If he were to come to you with something like that, do you think that then there would be a reprieve for the next couple of years as they get their house in order? Because clearly it's almost, just from a physical standpoint, impossible to move everything overnight. And the damage it could do to the company overnight is obviously tremendous.
Well, it is impossible to move things overnight. But one of the things we're seeing, I was joking with a person who does bond rating in the U.S. in my office a few weeks ago, and one of the things that happens at the Director of National Economic Council office is that CEOs line up in my office. I'm kind of like the person in an airplane that's getting walloped over the head by everybody, where everybody says, oh, like, we're never going to be able to do anything if we have this tariff. It's going to be a disaster if we have this tariff. And then my friend who's a bond rater said, actually, they come in and they tell me the opposite because they don't want the bonds to be downgraded. And so the point is that everybody is trying to make it seem like it's a catastrophe if there's a tiny little tariff on them right now to try to negotiate down the tariffs. And so in the end, we'll see what happens. We'll see what the end game is, but we don't want to harm Apple. And in the end, if you think that Apple has a factory someplace that's got like a set number of iPhones that it produces and it needs to sell them no matter what, then Apple will bear those tariffs, not consumers.
That's crazy.
Because it's an inelastic supply. Oh, hey, Becky.
We had Ray Washburn here earlier. Not only is he a big industry leader, he served in the first Trump administration. He said, look, 8, 9, 10% tariff, business can figure out. They can find ways to do those margins. If you get above that, 20, 30, even 50%, that's not the case. So are you thinking eventually tariffs will get down to the level that businesses can negotiate within, 10% or less? Or do you think that a lot of this is going to be paid by the American consumer, too?
Well, in the end, that's going to be up to the president. But we've seen that 10 is a place that a lot of people have been pushed to. And I would guess that if they come in with good enough offers, then they'll stay there or perhaps even below. But if they come in with retaliation and they don't open their markets to U.S. goods, then it'll go the other way. The bottom line, though, is that it's astonishing how little foreign markets have been open to U.S. goods. And they're opening up in these deals like you couldn't believe. And so what's going to happen is that if you make something in the U.S., if you're a farmer in the U.S., then your markets are open to you in a way that they've never been before. And so I think that as you're thinking about the economic impact of tariffs, we need to think about, elasticities of supply and demand and so on, too. But we also need to think about what happens if all of a sudden the non-tariff barriers are gone and U.S. products are able to be sold all around the world. That's great for American firms. It's great for American equities.
True.
We keep hearing anecdotally about India, and that the's been some excitement, stops and starts on how close we were.
I'm listening to this just to try and get caught up myself.
Do you know anything, Kevin? I've heard that they've offered to cut the tariff gap by 2/3 or something, and they've reached some pretty high levels. What's going on between us and India? Is that close?
I won't talk about a specific country, but I have been meeting with Indian officials. I had dinner with the ambassador a little while ago, and I think, and JD went over there and made a huge amount of progress. Thank goodness for the vice president. So yeah, I would say that it's one of the ones that's on the list of it's close to the finish line.
Cool.
On the list, obviously, that would be. And then I don't know. So you can't talk individually about any, but.
Right, because the president finalizes everything, Joe. That's why. So you can see it. Oh, this looks pretty good to me, and this has got this and that. But until he finalizes it, yeah.
That's a July 9th deadline too, isn't it, for India?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So 27 countries in the EU, Apple, India.
All right, Joe doesn't look excited about it. He thinks that there's problems. That's fine. We can leave Joe that way. Joe's turned into quite the bear as of late. So we'll jump out of that. Yeah, MetaPlanet. What do we have? There's been a bunch of chat questions related here. So Bitcoin miners. What do I think of Bitcoin miners? I think Bitcoin miners are lagging pretty bad, and I think that's okay. Let's actually look at some charts here. So I do think that somebody said, do I think there'll be a rotation into miners from the Bitcoin treasuries? It depends. If Bitcoin treasuries go up a lot and they outpace the miners significantly, then yes, I do think eventually that's what you'll see. You'll see underperformers start to catch up or laggards start to catch up. But again, we are getting a little bit of a bounce on miners. It looks like maybe it's going to kind of, again, it looks like it kind of did what it did over here. And that if we can establish a base, get back above about 17 over here, we started to over here. If we can get above this first fib line and turn that into support, then it's going to be off to the races. Then we're likely to try and, test right underneath 20. And then we kind of fall into this trough over here. If we zoom way out, it's kind of an ugly looking chart. But if we can get above 20, we have a nice little bounce to get into this next fib zone. And then again, break out of this downward trend that's been going on for a while. If you look from this base over here, kind of chopping over here, trying to get above it, couldn't find support, went down. Then you got another line over here and another line over here. We're going to want to test that again. That is roughly 76% higher than what we are. You got to remember, these miners are going to have a much better quarter, guys, this next quarter. Because if I remember correctly, they were in the 80s for Bitcoin in this last quarter, and now we're at near 110. If we get to my target of 120 up here in this next fib, if you look in the bottom right corner, if we get to that by the time this quarter ends, then we've seen a 50% increase in the price of Bitcoin from quarter to quarter. And this, for some people, increases their holdings substantially. And for others, at the very least, it certainly far outpaces the difficulty level. We didn't see a 50% increase in difficulty level over that same period of time. So I think the miners will do a lot better for Q2, even though they've been a painful bitch to hold on to. for the last like 15, 16 months. Ever since they kind of topped out, it has not been a lot of fun. But I do think they'll get a lot better. And again, if we just look at some of the others, let's look at Iron here. We'll pull up CleanSpark. So if we look at the miner over here, I mean, Iron is a good indication of a very strong bounce. It looks much stronger than the rest, right? If we look over here, this thing bottomed really kind of over here on April 16th, roughly 6 weeks ago. It was down into the fives, and now we're up to 942 in pre-market. So again, almost 100% move over that period of time. You can cry about your miners, but you can't cry too much when you're up about 90% in 6 weeks. It looks like 82% in 6 weeks. That actually seems like a pretty good thing. And let's look at CleanSpark over here. And again, they're getting that HPC narratives kind of picking up again. Seems to be pretty prevalent. And even from the bottom here on CleanSpark, even with this sharp spike down, if we look over here, still up 48% in a period of about, this one's about 6 weeks. So still doing all right. But again, we were doing much better when we were at $11. So we'll see if we can climb back up out of this. I do think, though, that we're consolidating pretty well. We just have to find support and then start to roll higher. And hopefully we'll see that. But I do think that miners are going to lag versus the Bitcoin treasuries. I think the Bitcoin treasuries are where it's at. Everybody's trying to find their next MicroStrategy in order to be able to get those wicked gains that it was getting. Again, guys, look at the bottom corner. We're really pushing that fib. If you look over in the corner over here, we're really pushing that fib and trying to break out higher. If we get above 110 and turn that into support, it's going to be a nice view for continuation upwards. Let's see what else we got here. CleanSpark, also my biggest holding. I feel good about it fundamentally, but I wonder how much spotlight the treasuries are stealing. A lot. It's just more pain on miners, right? Because Bitcoin treasuries are going up. Does anybody have the latest price on MetaPlanet too, off their exchange? Mine doesn't really update, I don't think. Let me just refresh here. Mine sucks for trying to find that. LTBG is up 21% right now. Is that the Bitcoin? Are you talking about the Bitcoin group? Or is that, I feel like that's a different ticker. AL. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. Yep, that's the Bitcoin group. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I know asset equities or whatever it is, I saw them up too. Again, if I go back over here to this list, it's kind of hard to see, but if I go over to Bitcoin treasuries and then sort this a little bit, I don't know, in pre-market, I saw this one being up about 20+%. So once we roll over into regular market hours, I think these are all going to start to look a lot better and have a really bouncy day. Yeah, MetaPlanet had another limit up. It sounds like 2 days in a row of limit up. So MetaPlanet's doing really well. If I'm curious about like the United States market though, MTPLF. If anybody has like a pre-market price, I don't see that. My exchange doesn't do a good job showing that. 805. Oh, so the bid is 805. The ask is 990 on Schwab. So if we just plot that somewhere in the middle, maybe $9 would be a good number because we closed at 701 last week. Let me just drag that over. So we closed with MetaPlanet. We closed over here underneath this fib at the 701 level. And so if we're at $9, we're sitting more like up here in this range, which would be a nice place to be. So if that's where we found if we found our bottom, that would be wonderful. Let me see how I have this drawn out too. I'm trying to make sure. Let me see how I have this fib. So the fib, I got to redraw this one. I'm just going to get rid of I think we found the bottom, so I'm going to get rid of my retracement to make this less cluttered, and we're going to call that the bottom. And again, we might already be up here. We might already be up in this range, closing this gap. It would totally make sense that we would close this gap, so let me switch to daily. Again, we didn't quite close it last week, but it would make sense that we at least close this gap over here. And judging by what's happening in the Japanese market, with it limiting up every day and kind of being short squeezed again, I think that's probably a really good sign. If we just move over here, let me just close that up. So again, if you just look over here, another limit up, another limit up. That's beautiful to see. This is actually the highest level we've ever seen in Japan right now. Up 283% from the bottom in April. Let's look at what MetaPlanet is up now over that same period of time, so we can see if those are more in line with each other than they were before. Because again, before they were kind of way out of whack. So there's the bottom there. Oh, they're real close, guys. So we don't have a huge disparity right now, but we do have one. So we're up about 330% on MetaPlanet, whereas Japan is up about 283%. So Japan, again, is going to try to be playing catch-up. So we should have a nice squeeze still coming out of this one. B850Z says, how can MetaPlanet issue new stock when they are limit up? They use a warrant system. It's the way it works in Japan, and Japan has these weird limit ups too that kind of lock them up, and then they have special auctions. I don't know how often that happens, if it's like after 4 days of limit up, or what time frame is required in order to be able to make it happen. But I've got a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of that. Ali, Jesse, what do you think about HIMS? I don't think much about it. I rarely pay attention to it, honestly. It seems to be doing really well. I know my friend Adam has done really well from it. Gnome said, Jesse, are all these limit ups causing gaps which are likely to need to be filled? Not really. I don't think they have to. I mean, the volatility can get us there, and we did fill a lot of gaps this last week. Looking at 3350, though, we still have one all the way down to 719 that didn't fill. So I don't know that they have to. The important thing is that these guys are issuing with a NAV premium that is very different than, again, a premium that's very different from their Bitcoin holdings. They're issuing warrants in this case in order, and people are gobbling them up, because when they do that, this company's turning around and buying Bitcoin, and when their NAV premium is really high, they're able to accumulate a lot of Bitcoin with a very small amount of debt. MetaPlanet has virtually no debt, and they have beautiful looking revenues because of the fact that they're using the volatility to generate income, because their CEO was a derivatives trader, and Dylan LeClaire is brilliant. So they're able to do some stuff that other people have struggled with just because their volatility is so high. Again, they're the number one volatility company in Japan right now, and I think the most actively traded stock in Japan almost every day now. What's my exit plan? I'm for MicroStrategy changed. I'm not even really in MicroStrategy right now. I barely have any. I'd update my account, but I'm locked out of it on X. But I have very small amounts of MicroStrategy. It's basically MetaPlanet right now. I have 1.2 million in MetaPlanet. I have 166,550 shares now, at a total cost basis of $1.01 million. I'm up about 200,000 on it. Yeah, I'm up about 200,000. So I'm doing all right on that position. If I'm correct this morning, I'll be up about 500,000. Raber Trade says Kevin Haas is reported to have made this statement about tariffs potentially being lowered to 10% or less. Yeah, we just heard that. I don't know that that's going to happen. It might for some people, but I don't know that that's a news event. That's something they've kind of said for a while, that if things are exceptionally good, they might do it. Oh, it looks like we did get, guys, we did get some data on durable good orders. Let's just take a look. See what we're looking at there. Durable goods, U.S., month over month, slightly less than the horrificness that was expected of negative 7.8% and negative 6.8%. So a little bit better than that. X transportation was 0.2%. They were expecting negative numbers, so that's good. Minus defense, it was negative 7.5%. They're expecting negative 8.1%. So all these are slightly beating, except for non-defense good orders, excluding air. That was negative 1.3% versus 0. So what a heck with FAAS. Crazy. Hassett, India among deals close to finish line. Yeah, that's what he said. I don't think the guy gave us a lot. We didn't get a lot out of Kevin Hassett right now. Another BTC Treasury. We've got another one. FAAS is another Bitcoin Treasury. Is that what you're telling me? That's awesome. The more the merrier. Yeah. Okay. Yep. It looks like it's up. Let's see here. This is FAAS. So it looks like on the 19th, it was 16 cents, and now it's $1. So you can see why companies would want to start stacking Bitcoin. And as they stack Bitcoin, they limit the amount that's available. And it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. These are all good things. I don't think there's too much to report on with the durable goods data. I don't think it gave us much. John Mahoney, the Smarter Web Company, backed by UTXO and Tyler Evans. I don't know who Tyler Evans is. Kyler Smith, can we get an update on Simler, please? Yeah, we can look at that. We can look at the chart. I don't have any news stuff, unfortunately. I don't have any access. So it looks like pre-market, it's up, but just barely. Again, it rocketed up a lot here from the low and from where it broke out. But it is just kind of coasting right now. So right about here, we talked about buying it. How much is it up since then? Let's see here. So we talked about buying it down here. It is up still about 45% or 40-ish percent. I think we were right around here. We were somewhere around here. Yeah, 41 to 45% from where we bought it. And it looks like it's only up 0.63% in pre-market. The chart looks good from like a chart perspective, especially the volume profile. If I jump out, this one's a long one, and a bunch of this business is not during the times of these guys being a treasury company. But I do like how much volume we have right here. Again, we're above peak volumes, which is down over here in the 34 range. We're above the first fib. We've got a massive volume candle here. If we can grind in here and then pull our way up to $50, I think it's a nice quick jump up to the 57 and even to the 66 range. I don't know how quickly that's going to happen. Again, if these guys have an announcement, their NAV is starting to pick up. So if they have an announcement on a Bitcoin purchase, I think that would help them. The bigger the NAV, though, the better. So if we look over here, let's see how much do they have in the way of Bitcoin. Let me refresh real quick. They've all kind of stolen the look of MicroStrategy. At Sailor's request, he's like, take it. So what do we have? Bitcoin count 44,264 right now for Simler versus the 580,250 of MicroStrategy and the 8,000-ish of MetaPlanet. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the stock. We'll see if it can start to climb up here, but it looks like it's positioned all right. Simler did purchase the other day. How much did they purchase? Let me look over here. I'll see if I can find that one. Simler. See if I can find, if this thing lets me. Fuck, I can't wait. I hope they fix my shit soon. Gemini Knight Fidelity lets you do it over the phone. Otherwise, the OTC U.S. markets is almost ready. Yeah, it's going to open up here in a little bit. OTC opens up. Regular trading hours open up in about 50 minutes. We'll see how long I'll stick around here, too. I do want to hop over. I want to look at FS Insight. I want to listen to this. So this is Mark Newton talking for 9 minutes here about his thoughts. Before we do that, though, I want to see if Tom Lee has a more up-to-date video. Again, normally I wouldn't show this, but yeah, this is the end of business. This is late in the day on Friday. I want to show what Mark Newton says about the technicals in regard to the broader markets. And I do think that they're looking good. Yeah, we can look at ARK in a second, too. Let's listen to this real fast, and then we'll do that next. 1 second here. Is this working? Let me hit the button.
Hello, everybody. Today's the 23rd of May. Thank you for joining. Want to wish everybody a very happy Memorial Day weekend, long weekend. For those, of course, that thought we would enjoy, sort of a lazy start to a nice long weekend, we certainly were caught off guard by the comments today and hints of further tariffs to come. And so markets were certainly caught off guard by that. We did see a little bit of a breakdown in the S&P. However, that did prove contained. We actually managed to rally off the lows, not only in S&P, but also in QQQ. We see that this little pullback still has not violated the uptrend, and many large cap technology stocks have a very similar open gap from the early part of May that is now being filled. So, I think that is going to prove to be very strong support. It would be one thing if we had high volume, high breadth declines that violate uptrends. And, give us real warning signs of a larger setback. But, I list in tonight's note really the key reasons why I do suspect this is going to prove short-lived, and it probably will be over as of next Tuesday. And so, it is right to still be long and buy dips. I don't sense that this is, going to be anything like the first part of April when we had our very violent decline. And at that time, breadth was very heavy into the downside. Now we've seen a sell-off that's happening amidst still ongoing, pessimistic sentiment. And I think that is important that people, we are less bearish than we were back in early April. But still, given this announcement, the markets could have been down a lot more, and we actually rallied to close above where we opened the session and haven't really done much damage yet. So I think that is sort of key. So the charts of the S&P are shown below. I think that, filling this gap completely would make sense, although it's not required. I think that, gaps don't always have to be filled, but when we do get down to those levels, and they do, historically have proven to be pretty good levels of support for both indices and also for stocks. And so I would, encourage everybody to look at their own portfolio of stocks that have these, opening gaps from where the market pushed up very sharply from the 9th to the 12th of May. And now a lot of those levels are being tested. So I think that is a very good area of support that makes many of these stocks a much better risk reward. And there are dozens of these, so we can't obviously go through them all, but just important to note that, many of the Mag 7 have similar structure and now are down to test these areas heading into the long weekend. The other thing that's important, we'll just talk a little bit about Apple, because that, of course, was the beneficiary of.
I don't want to hear Apple, but I do agree with him on the fact that what's happening in regard to closing some of the gaps on the S&P is probably a good thing and needed in order to be able to have a continuation higher. Let's actually pull up the S&P real quick over here. Let me do this. I'll put it to the weekly so it's a little more visible and easy to identify. But again, we haven't quite closed the gap. It might make sense to go even a little bit lower to the 5,700 range on the S&P. That gets us kind of to the neckline that we have over here, going back a ways. We were just, again, this is we talked about the whole time how this was such a bullish bounce in the S&P, and one of the most bullish going back, over a very long period of time. If we just zoom out here, you can see what happened in 2020 when we had this kind of wick that we've had here. It just keeps going higher. And we can see, again, the same kind of thing over here in 2018 when they tried raising rates for the first time in a very long time. And again, just back over here in 2008, when you have these kind of really dramatic bounces, or even over here in 2016, when you have these dramatic big drops down, and you have the kind of bounce that we saw over here, it's going to be a continuation higher virtually every time. Like it's the probabilities of going up are much, much higher. And again, what are we looking at for the macro environment? We're looking at rates coming down in the future, even if they're not coming down this month. We're looking at them coming down in the future. Some people are still pointing at inflation. A lot of signs that were showing that they're not. Let's look at trueflation again real quick today and see if we're still under the twos. Let me refresh here. And see what we're sitting at. Nope, we're at 2.1. So we have climbed a little bit. So again, some of the impact of the trade war is making it to where we're climbing higher. So we are seeing some of that. But I do think that we have a lot of good tailwinds behind us. Again, deregulation. We got the tax bill coming. The tax bill, if it passes the Senate, which I think it'll do, there's a lot of juice in there to cause a market melt up. The no tax on tips, the no tax on Social Security, the no tax on overtime, all these things will help people out a lot. The modification of the supplemental leverage ratio, making it to where banks don't get penalized for holding U.S. bonds, will be big for the markets too. And again, the Treasury can buy back bonds. There's just a bunch of tools in the tool chest in order to be able to keep yields down. And if I look real quickly at the 10-year yield, again, we talked about how it was kind of coming back up here and testing this line. And what did it do? It rejected pretty good off of it. We got up to like 4.6 something last week, and now we're already down to back to 4.46. This is still a pattern that wants to break down off of an over 2.5 year downward trend line on the RSI on the monthly time frame. That is a lot of downward pressure that's still going to try and pull us down. And I think it's going to accomplish it because I think the Treasury is really smart. Roman said, Jesse, any interesting options plays to consider? I haven't really been playing options too much. I already have a bunch, right? I've got CleanSpark, I've got Mara, I've got Iron, I've got SMCI, I've got ARCG. Oh, and I promised that we'd look at ARCG, so I probably should do that real quick here too. Let me pull that up super fast here. And ARCG hasn't done anything, and I haven't been talking about it much because, again, it's one of those where I was hoping it would break up. We had this beautiful, look at this beautiful line. We tested up. It looked great, but it was a fake out, and it went down one more time as the markets got weaker, and this one just got utterly punished. Again, it dropped all the way down to, 17? So it just got decimated. Now, it is crawling back. What we'd like to see is getting support over here, screaming back up to 26, and what I'd love to see on any kind of ticker is closes above this peak volume line right here, right? So this volume line at about 26.58. I want to see us above that. I'd like to see us get above 27 and hold that, good because again, you can see where we've gotten higher, but we haven't broken up. If we can get above this and hold it for a couple of weeks, and then really get above the first fib line at 28, we're near this breakout zone. We are near it. It's been consolidating this massive drop. This is so old, guys. This is what are we at? We're at 1,575 or 78 days since the all-time high over here. Since we double topped on that. That is a lot of years. And so I do think this thing's consolidating. I am interested in getting more of it, probably 2027 even at this point, because I already own June 2026, January 2026, and so I'm probably looking at like 2027 now for additional option plays in regard to ARCG, and I do think it can break out. ARK is doing much better. Yeah, so that's just the broader technology sector. Genomics is probably considered more speculative, even though I love it and I think it's a really great opportunity. RK is probably doing better. You're right. Let's just pull it up here real quick. Yeah, right here. So, yeah, RK. Look at this. This is actually kind of beautiful too. Look at the support line. Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high. This is kind of leading the race up. But again, I think a lot of their funds, I think ARCG's a laggard, but I think it'll do well. Theo, the whole medical market has been decimated. Yeah, exactly. And ARC Genomics is just a representation of that. And before the tariffs, I think maybe the tariff narrative is one of the reasons we saw this thing come down even more recently, like where we got into the 17s. But this is a great, again, guys, we are right now, this thing is down, even in pre-market, with the bounce that we have, the 2% upside. We're down 81% from the high that was established, I mean, what, 2.5 years ago? Almost 3 years ago? It's a long time. Tomer Altman said, I took a look on ARK, thinking of buying some today. All right, good luck, man. I'm kind of staying out of that from the technology side. I'm more interested in the genomics sector. I really am. I think they're doing amazing stuff with gene splicing right now, and I'm really excited to see what some of it can turn into. Anthony Yeo, sidetrack a little. What will your new handle be if you cannot get your X? I can't give that because I haven't created it yet, and if I haven't created it yet and I give it out, somebody might create it and keep it for themselves. So I'll let you know. My plan is to create an alt account today. My friend Income Sharks had to do this. He had to create an alt. So I'm probably going to do that today, and then tomorrow I'll announce what my temporary alt handle is so that you guys can follow me on that while I'm working to get my account back. You'd think they'd give me my account back. I mean, I'm making $10,000 a month roughly in revenue on it. It seems like something they should give me access to or respond to my email. So we'll see what happens with it. But I will let you guys know tomorrow what my new handle is for my alt. Sawyer, thoughts on SMLR's BTC to share value ratio? I mean, I think it's a good looking setup for them. I think the only thing that SMLR is needs to figure out is they need to get the NAV premium up. Because again, if you look at one, and this might not even be fully accurate right now on MetaPlanet, it could actually be higher than this. But if you look at like a 5 to 7x premium on MetaPlanet, and then you look at Similar, which is running at a fraction of that. Yeah. So this new treasury company, FAAS, is up 68% in pre-market. Watch out for all those, though, guys. I love the setup on MetaPlanet because, again, I know the leadership of the company. And again, somebody said, is Eric Trump on the board of directors with MetaPlanet? They might be. He might be, actually. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but he might be. If anybody knows in chat, throw it out there. All right, so Similar. Let's look over here. So again, 4,264 Bitcoin is a huge amount. It's like 55% of what MetaPlanet has, even though they're 1/10 the market cap. But the NAV premium, ideally, before you issue more debt, you would like to see your premium go higher. So it would be wicked if we saw this get up to 2x or maybe 3x. And again, if it did that, if it got to 3x without dilution, that would be a doubling of what the price is right now on Similar. And that would be closer to 900 million for a market cap versus the 4.6 billion I think that MetaPlanet is sitting at right now, or 4.2 billion. Japan money printer going burr now. Look at the USD JPY ratio. Exactly. That's exactly it. That's why I love MetaPlanet so much. That's why it's my favorite one, and that's why I have 1.2 million dedicated towards it. Because Japan is in a precarious position where they said that they're basically at the Greece debt crisis, and this is a lifeboat for people that are Japanese. Why can't you comment? I don't know. Why can't you comment, Arcade? I think you did. V850Z. Sometimes YouTube is weird, so if you're putting in some things that it doesn't like links, it won't let you comment. Or like something offensive. I don't know. They censor all kinds of shit. So it could be something like that. V850Z, why can 3350T trade in after hours while it is limit up? I don't know if it's much. I don't know. I don't know the Japanese market well enough to be able to tell you, but it doesn't move much. I can tell you that. If we pull up 3350 here. So again, you can see that like here too, after hours, there's like this little tread sideways, but it must be within a certain range because it doesn't really move. It doesn't really move. So if you look here, like that was the limit up, and then it had just this sideways thing. This was the limit up, then it has the sideways thing. So there isn't much trading that goes on in after hours. All right, let's see. We're almost 8. Is there any more economic data? I might not stick around for long today, guys. I really need to get this alt account set up after trying to, again, see if I can get access to my main account so that I can start getting back into my groove again. 850Z says it's up 10% showing on my interactive, but what is it at? What do you see for the number for 3350? Is it 1,116 yen? Like what we're seeing up here? Or is it even higher than that? Is it 10% higher? Is it in the 1200s or something? You might just want to double check. 1239. Okay, fuck. That's awesome. That's crazy. That's awesome. So again, this is even better. If this thing's at 1239, that's even greater, guys, because that means we're up to this next fib. We're up above this next fib level. Up 324%. I think that's even more than the U.S. market is right now. If I don't look at pre-market, the U.S. is still up. If we're really at like a 9 in pre-market, then the U.S. is up 473% since the first week of April, whereas this one's up 324%. So the U.S. is still winning. Which is great. We'd love to see the Japanese markets chase this higher. Arcade Dragon, I'm trying to get someone from Twitter to respond to my post that Jesse is locked out of his account. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Anything you guys can do to try and help is appreciated. It sucks. You don't realize until you're locked out that you don't have a lot of power. And I think X, because of all the problems they've had recently over this last week, has a lot of tickets out too. So anything you guys can do to help, letting a bigger account know or something is appreciated. I wish I could just respond from my account and be like, help me, but then I'd be in. DN3 is at 7.5. Not sure I follow the reasoning. I don't know why the German one is lagging. It's at 7.66. So this is the German exchange. But again, it's up 2, right? So the German one went all the way down 79%. It really crashed. The German one really crashed. I think more so than the United States. I think we were down like 75 or a little bit less. But this thing was down a lot, almost 79%, and we're up from the bottom. This thing's up 13% today. And again, these are different exchange rates. You have to make sure you're thinking about that. So even though this is 700 or 7.66, this is European dollars versus US dollars, but they're showing up 70% from the bottom just last week. So this one's done all right. I mean, it's gotten a little bit of a bounce, DN3. All right. I don't know where my others are here. Let's see here. Oh, my computer's getting locky. Shit. Yeah, there's 33.50. So, and what was 33.50 from the bottom? The bottom was 783. So yeah, it's about the same. These are going up. They're all going up. It looks good. It looks bullish. That's $8.60 USD. Yeah, so that actually is pretty close. So 757 euro is close to 860 USD. So that would make sense, or 870, whatever. It's probably bouncing around. They have paper hands. That's possible. Daniel, you are correct. My bad. Yeah. So just think about that. Think about the currency exchange rates between yen and the German. You can actually set this up too, where you're looking in a particular currency on some of your charting and stuff, which is helpful, I find. Anyway, so let's see what else we have for economic data. Volumes have been good on stuff. Are you talking about like volumes from one of the exchanges versus the others? DN3 does not have that high of volume. Its average 30-day is 608,000. Today it's up 489, so it's a little bit higher. Let me look over here. So 3350, the Japanese market, its volume is 46.86 million shares, and today its volume it's the close of this last day was 52 million. So these are substantially higher volumes. And if we look at the daily here, again, it had a really crazy peak when they let the market just open up and it flushed out. But again, we're still just going up. And the weekly volumes, let's see what they look like. They're pretty strong. Again, very strong markets. They really picked up steam since they kind of went live with the Bitcoin treasury. But again, volumes just getting crazier and crazier. We haven't even seen a peak in the weekly. That'll probably be a sign, guys. If we get a peak in the weekly, that'll probably be a sign that, again, maybe we're going to take a little bit of a pause. If you look over here, I mean, it didn't over here, though, in all honesty. It just kind of tabled sideways for a couple of weeks and then went up. And then over here, again, we had a peak in the volume. That was right about over here. That probably marked the bottom, but then we treaded sideways for months, and now we're taking off again. I don't expect this to change. I think we're still going up. Jesse, did you see Macron getting slapped? Yeah, by his male wife, who might be his father. I don't know. There's so much weird shit going on there. I don't know, but I did see that. I didn't see it happen. I saw some pictures of it. Again, I haven't really been on social media. Quantum scare. Any thoughts? On Bitcoin? That's been a thing since I can remember. I'm not worried about it at all. I don't think quantum computing is baked at all. I think we're still 3 to 5 years away from any real stuff done with quantum computing, and I think they can address it. There's been resolutions, and even if it happened, they could literally just freeze the chain, hold assets, and then fork the chain, and on one that is quantum resistant, and everybody's going to go to the quantum resistant one. So that's just the way it works. So I'm not worried about it, honestly. I think it would be fixed. Even if it broke the network, it would be fixed very quickly. It's the great thing about it. I mean, pedo bearish, you guys are great. Any profit taking on MetaPlanet today? Nah, I don't plan on it. No, I plan on letting this thing ride. I think we just had a nice flush. So I'm letting it ride and going higher. Again, you can't even see the flush in the Japanese market, guys. It's like non-existent if you're looking at the weekly time frame. You can't even see it. No, I think we're going a lot higher. Again, these guys started their strategy. You can see where they started their strategy. This thing was trading at got all the way down to 14 yen. Now it's up to 1180. That seems crazy until you look at MicroStrategy, and then you realize how much MicroStrategy went up afterwards. Let's just go back to the Wayback Machine, guys, and look at some stuff, okay? Let's look at what happened to MicroStrategy when it originally switched to a Bitcoin treasury company after the pandemic, okay? Let's see what percentage increase did we see in MicroStrategy from the bottom to the top of the cycle. So they were up 1,360%. But again, they were slow and trickling into this at the time. This was a very new thing for them. And so that's going to the way back, all the way back to the dot-com bubble. So this was a new concept. It wasn't vetted. But again, if we look at where MicroStrategy is now over that period of time, they're up 4,100% from where they were at the bottom before they became a Bitcoin treasury company. They're up roughly that amount, which is a huge increase. And again, they can this cycle, MicroStrategy is up 2,700%. So you can look at MetaPlanet and think, it's crazy how much it's up already. But just this cycle, MicroStrategy is up 2,700%. And this company, again, it's up even more. But they are less indebted. They've got a better debt ratio than MicroStrategy. They've got a higher NAV premium. They're just getting started in their Bitcoin purchases. And their market cap is 580 billion, it looks like. Or I'm sorry, that's yen. So whatever the conversion is, it's probably sitting at $4.5 billion, 4.6. So it's just a fraction of the size of MicroStrategy, and they can do really large issuance. They could at least double, triple their stack, still have a really low debt ratio, still have a really high NAV premium. So I could see this thing going up a lot from where we're at. Victor, but following same reasoning, if alt TBG is able to purchase 10 billion, I don't know if that's euro, next 10th June being right now, is it undervalued? Yeah, you could follow that same reasoning. The thing I like, though, about Japan right now is the fact that their bond market is a fucking disaster and that they're having to print like crazy and that their inflation rate is going up a lot. I think it just gives it an added oomph in MetaPlanet that you don't have in these others. But yes, again, the Bitcoin group is a nice one because it gives you a European option, even though MetaPlanet is in Germany. MetaPlanet MNAB is very high. Isn't that scary? Not right now. At the end of the cycle, it could be scary. But right now, I think we're at the beginning. Again, MicroStrategy just bought 4,000 fucking Bitcoin in a week. When you're looking at paces of stuff like this, where we're seeing just massive purchases, it's really way less scary. It's way less scary because all these treasury companies are consuming all of the Bitcoin. And if they consume all of the Bitcoin, then we're good to go. We're good to go. Because then you have a crunch in supply. When these things are scary, you don't want to be holding these things till the end. So honestly, for me, we'll see what happens when we get to 120,000 Bitcoin. If MetaPlanet's doing really good, I'll probably deleverage. I'll probably deleverage even more if we get up to 150,000 Bitcoin, 140, 150. I'll probably be really deleveraged from MetaPlanet, my miners, all this stuff. I'll probably be heavily deleveraged and locked in with a ton of gains. Because yeah, it'll be more scary once you get, and I don't even think that's the top. I think Bitcoin can go a lot higher. Let me just pull this out. I'll pull this out. This will be one of the last things I do today, and then I need to get my alt account going if I can't get my main. Because guys, there's this long-term trend if we look at it here. And I've shown you a bunch of different indicators that just show how Bitcoin is nowhere near the top of this cycle. But if we just dial this out, guys, and look at the cycle high of 2017, what happened here at just the bare minimum of 2021. And my argument is that we would have went higher, but we didn't because of what happened with raising rates at the most aggressive rate in history. The bottom here, though, look at this, support. Broke down for a minute, but on the weekly, still support, all the way across the weekly. Didn't even make it down to it. We're barely up, guys, from our previous high. Normally, we go up a lot more. We haven't seen any real parabola at all from different cycles. But if you look over here, if we just go from our previous one to where we hit last time, I mean, that was 260%, right? In our last cycle, just from cycle high to cycle high. And this time around, what are we even at? So this one, our cycle high. So I'm not saying we got to go stupid high, but we're only up 58%. We're not up 260, 270% from cycle to cycle. So this one screams super low. So I still think that there's this possibility that we go quite a bit higher and that we look to test this upper bound or the 1.618, somewhere between, I'd say somewhere between 140 and 270 to 80 seems very likely to me. But again, I want to be dialed out of a lot of leverage. Hey, Jesse, how come you didn't go to Vegas? Because my friend talked to me about it on Friday, and he was flying out and coming in at the beginning of the week. And again, I'm trying to get my account back. I can't even, if I go to Vegas, I can't even like post shit to social media. So I need to do that. Plus, I already have plans, guys. I should probably say this. I already had plans starting next Sunday to go on a vacation that lasts through the 5th. So next week, I'll basically be out again and then coming back at the end of the week. So I've already got a vacation coming. I kind of didn't want to disappear for like a month. And I need to get my social media account back. But I do want to go to these in the future. I really would have went to that. If I would have known he was going earlier and I would have gotten some tickets, I would have been gone. Jesse, just my periodic thank you for everything you do. Love you, bro. Yeah, thank you, Amit. I will try and do more. What is that number? 110,000? Oh, just that we are getting near it. Did we hit it? I don't think we hit it yet. No, we haven't. Let me pull this up. Oh, we did. Fuck yeah. Okay, so this is great, guys. Yeah, as I talk about us going higher, we're going higher. So, so let me zoom out here. It looks like there's a ghost entity from my previous session sitting in the tracker thing. But we're up we're above 110,000. Again, we're trying to break above this next fib zone. It is great that we're pressing up against it with such strength. I think we can go up a lot higher. I think it's going to be really easy to get to 120. I think once we get to maybe the 138 range, again, and maybe we pause at 120 for weeks, maybe even a month or two, and then creep higher. But I think we're in the parabola phase, and I have some intent to deleverage a decent amount, like a lot. Probably at least 50% of my holdings maybe at the 138 range, if not 70%. And then again, ride it up maybe to the 160s, and then I'd probably be completely out of multipliers. So the Bitcoin miners option contracts, out of them. The treasury companies, out of them. All that stuff, I'd be shitcoins, probably out of them. And then I would maybe ride some iBit and some other stuff on the way up. Jesse spoke about vacation and BTC hit 100. Maybe I need more time off. Maybe this is just a sign from God, right? What if miners lag a bit more than expected? I mean, they have. I don't know if they have been. Mara is up 3% though in pre-market, so it's making up for some Friday losses. CleanSpark's up 2.24. Riot's up 2.92. Iron, what's Iron up? I don't even know. I got Iron around here somewhere. I got to find it. But they have been lagging really badly, and so I don't think. Oh, here we go. And so IREN's up 3.51 doing the HPC play. This one's actually one of the stronger ones out as far as bouncing up and doing well. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. But they have been lagging badly. But they're going to pick up. Again, I just talked about this. If let's say that the end of Q2 comes, right? So we still got June. We're not done yet. Let's say the end of Q2 comes. Bitcoin is at 120 to $137,000. What was the end of Q1? Let's just go back here. The end of Q1 is March. Where were we at in March? Let me get over here. All right, March, end of March, March 31st. March 31st, we closed at $78,000. So think about the fundamentals, especially Bitcoin companies that hold a lot of BTC. They're already looking at a 41% increase in a quarter in the assets that they're holding. And then if we go up to the 120 range, they're looking at a 55% increase over that period of time. And if by some miracle, by the end of the quarter, we get up to the 137-ish range, that would be a 77% increase in the value of their holdings. So think about it. Everything that they're mining, their difficulty level didn't go up by 40 to 77% in a quarter. It might have went up 15% maybe. But you're going to see them getting better revenue, better net income, and then they'll have better holdings in their Bitcoin holdings as well. Their balance sheet will look a lot better. So I think the narrative will get a lot better for Q2 for the miners. I really do. Yeah, and if it's only 120,000, which I think is very doable, if it's only in this range, like up 54% in a quarter, is just beautiful. Like the revenue's going up 54% minus the increase in the difficulty. And I probably have that. Do I have that somewhere? Let me see. Is CryptoQuant? I don't know where CryptoQuant is. I'm all discombobulated right now. I got to figure out all my shit. Let me see here. Is this CryptoQuant? That's Patreon. This. Are you CryptoQuant? You're CryptoQuant. Okay. Oh, but I'm not logged in. Let me get out of here real quick. Let me get that up. Let me close that. All right, let's pull up CryptoQuant. And then take a look here. So let me see difficulty. Let's see what we've went up. Yeah, okay. Difficulty. So let's see. Let's do this. We'll shorten this up because we got a really long time frame. And again, difficulty has went up a lot, but let's just look here. So from the end of March, difficulty was right about here. Let's just say 113. And then now over here, we're at 121. So somebody do the math on that. But let's say we're up 10% in difficulty, but we're up 45, 50% in revenue for the underlying asset. It's just going to be a better number. Mike said, White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett, tariffs could go to 10% or less in some countries. Yeah, I don't feel like we got news there, but everybody seems to be pushing it. We kind of already knew that. They said maybe if somebody does a really good deal that they might do less than 10%. I wouldn't expect that across the board at all. Sawyer, imagine we finish Q2 in the 120s. Yes, I agree. So again, just beautiful stuff here, guys, as far as what we're able to do, I think is going to be really good. Bitcoin on exchanges is just getting lower. Let's look at what we got here. No, I don't need. Leave me alone. Again, just continuing to drop. This is as of the 27th, it looks like. And if we just zoom out here, again, you can see how Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges kept going up for years. Look at this into the 2017 rally. Bitcoin on exchanges just kept skyrocketing. But now we're just in a massive crunch. Whether people realize it or not, this is a massive crunch, guys. This is crazy. Like, look at the amount of Bitcoin that's falling off exchanges and continuing to just cascade lower. We will get a strong pull up. Hey, Jesse, where's the fear gauge today? The stock market fear gauge is not at fear at all. It's in greed at 64. Again, it was higher. So we actually went from being in the 70 range back down to 64. So that's looking okay. And then in the crypto world, we've just kind of been hovering for a long period of time. We've been in the same place since May 9th. So again, over 2 weeks, we've just been sitting here around the same zone. So nothing too crazy. We could go higher though. If you look over here, peaks have actually been, virtually 100 in the 90s for a long period of time. Look at this. All the way, just to give you some idea what parabola means, it looks like, November 26th, or November the 26th of 2020, all the way almost till February of 2021, late February. So again, December, January, February, only for a short period of time, out of 3 months, was this thing down for a period of time. Otherwise, it was just peaked out until we eventually rolled over. So the level, we could spend months in the 90s in the crypto world. So just remember that. CryptoCast, Trump media to invest $2.5 billion in Bitcoin treasury deal. Is it really? What? That's awesome. Which media is that? Is that the social media platform, or what is it? There's so much Trump shit going on. Trump needs to pack his BTC bags as well. Yeah, it looks like he is, right? So, but there's between all the treasury companies, between everything that's going on, I feel really good about it. Have you looked at ASST, up 9% in pre-market? It doesn't surprise me. I think all of these are going to do really well. Let's just look at the stock market, too, in pre-market. Doesn't look like a bad day, guys. Tesla up 2.6%. A lot of the Magnificent Seven doing well. Chinese BABA not doing well. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting that China is not doing as well anymore? I hope my friend Jake and others start to notice that, because I think you're going to see more of that. But again, U.S. stocks doing really good. This is really good market breadth. Lots of green on the screen. Don't hate that at all. And again, we'll be going live in about 10 minutes. I'll probably stick around for that. I'll stick around for Go Live, maybe here. And let me just see. Musk on shifting focus to Tesla. I'm glad to hear Elon's doing that. I think that's fucking great. I really do. I need to get my portfolio updated, but I need access to my account to post it. Maybe I'll post it on my alt when I get up. 2 billion BTC reserve. I'm sorry, what? $2 billion in a Bitcoin reserve for Trump media? Is that what we're saying? Is that all a part of the same conversation? Macro Polo, what do you mean by 2 billion BTC reserve? What was that in regard to? Any view on SMCI? I think chips are starting to bounce back a little bit. It looks good today. Let's just jump over here. So SMCI is up 3.44%. Sure beats Friday. I think it's going to creep higher. This wants to break above this 48.78 zone. And get back. I could see us testing where we were over here in this kind of massive volume void over here in the 68 range. I think that this thing's going to do really, really well, and I'm glad that I bought on this. My SMCI contracts, I don't know what they're up. They're up 50% roughly right now, which is still pretty good. So I'm excited about that. I've got those are December 2026. Option contracts. So I got a lot of time on that, a year and a half for a 120 strike. Austin said, "Hey, Jesse, so glad you're back. Hope all is well in your X account." Yeah, hopefully I get my X account back. Adisu, Mara Holdings annualized Bitcoin mining revenue hit an all-time high. Awesome. Yeah, it's going to continue to. We keep going up, man. It's going to continue to. And again, that looks great. So again, just like I was speaking to with financials, thank you for bringing that up. If you're hitting all-time high in revenues, that doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. And that's just going to continue. If Bitcoin keeps screaming higher, those all-time highs are just going to get better and better and better. What are we at? Almost 111, guys. Almost 111. We're above this fib now, guys. Looking good. This is exciting. Look at that. Look at that. If we zoom in here. Look at that. Above the fib, ready to rock, guys. This is going to be good. It'll be interesting to see what MetaPlanet's doing. Let me see. I might pop MetaPlanet maybe down into the corner and keep Bitcoin up at the top here, because MetaPlanet will be going live soon too. So let me see. And then I'll probably stick around just for the open and then bail a little bit after that, because again, I got to get my shit working. Wondering where you've been on X, missing your updates. Yeah, it sucks, man. I honestly though, it was kind of nice. It kind of reminded me what it's like to be a human being. So I'm not going to lie. There were parts of it that were nice. Just having a break, not being so focused on like everything that's happening in the markets all the time and the news. Let me get over here though. I want to get Bitcoin pulled up, and then I want to share out. It's kind of a ghost here, a Bitcoin in the bottom right. We're going to switch that over to MetaPlanet. Let's see here. There you go. There's MetaPlanet. MetaPlanet in the bottom right for a change. We'll see how that does. Oh, that's the wrong MetaPlanet. Let me get the right MetaPlanet. Let me find it here. Let's see here. SMLR, SPX, IREN. Where you at, bro? Where you at? Archie, MSTR. Nope. All right, maybe MetaPlanet's over here. Ah, there it is. All right. There we go. There's our MetaPlanet. So we'll see how this thing... Oh, shit. 9? We're up 35%. I'm up $400,000 on MetaPlanet this morning. Talk about wild swings, bro. Is that right? 35% up. I'm up over 400,000 probably. Yeah. That's cool. I like that. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, guys. We're up at 945 is what we're looking at for MetaPlanet and the States, guys, right up to this next fib. So definitely closing a gap. I wouldn't be surprised if that came back down a little. That's up a lot. That's up a lot. 35% in a day is pretty crazy. So again, the squeeze is not over, guys. The squeeze is just beginning. If you look over here on the right, you'll see a 35% increase, 34.81% in pre-market. I would expect that to come down and maybe retrace a little bit, maybe even dip into the 8s. It's possible. Very possible. But not a bad number. Not a bad number. We got Bitcoin running at 110 plus. And we got MetaPlanet looking to rock. So I can't wait for them to dilute more with their warrants. Again, their debt to equity ratio is just so fucking delicious. I really love MetaPlanet. Let me see if I can find more about MetaPlanet. I need to get the MetaPlanet site on here. I've got MicroStrategy. I've got Similar. And I got the one over here. Let me get MetaPlanet. MetaPlanet. And then I can click on their site, I think, too, from within this. Community, website, community, maybe? I don't know. Where's the MetaPlanet site? You think they'd just have that right here? Let me see. Open link in a new tab. Announcements, whatever. I'll just look at MetaPlanet. MetaPlanet. I'll just get this one on here too so I have it. Portfolio, MetaPlanet. Oh. Am I on the right site? Maybe I'm not. I'm not. I don't think. Let me go back. MetaPlanet JP. There we go. That looks better. Let's see. Analytics, shareholders, investment relations. Is this where they have theirs? Nope. Okay. Analytics probably. So they got a nice visual page. Ooh, yeah, this is kind of cool. I don't know that I played here too much. What about Ether? Is that like an Ethereum trust? I mean, some stuff like that can do all right. I'm in Sol Strategies. We'll see how that does today. And I know there was another big Solana treasury that was just skyrocketing. That is possible. Did we get a MetaPlanet announcement for more Bitcoin? Probably not. I don't think they can yet. I think they're in a window where they have to get approval for new warrant issuance. I think it's pretty much just rubber stamped. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I don't think we got one on MetaPlanet. Let's see. Dylan LeClaire. He's probably the guy. He's the guy who would say something probably, right? I can't even pull up his shit. Did I get my AC fixed? I think so. But then there's this weird gurgling noise. And I think there's something with, I don't know. There's problems there too. So it's just been, there's always stuff. Real quick, guys, I'm going to Actually, I might even bounce before market open. So again, MetaPlanet guys, I think we're probably hitting the cap up to this 945 level. I don't think we'll go much higher than that today. And maybe it could drop down into the 8s. I think Bitcoin is trying to make its next run to, 120,000. I think right up here at this next fib level, that'll be a stronger level. But I think that's what we can expect. So I think I'm going to try and get my shit up and running. I'll let you guys know tomorrow morning when we do the next market open. I should actually have some news-related events. I think you should be bullish right now. I think the next couple of months are going to be really positive, and I'll let you guys know what my alt account is tomorrow. Okay, but I think for now we're going to go ahead and sign off, and I will see you guys tomorrow. And then if you can let other people know I haven't disappeared. Shit's just broken. Okay, I'll be back. I'll get X working.